welcome to episode 4 of Out of Your League. This was always the plan, get the podcast up the charts, get rid of John Wilkin, get rid of Mark Flanagan. Nobody likes them. They're holding me back. Got rid of Wilkin last week, got rid of Flanagan this week, so I'm halfway there. Don't forget you can download Out of Your League, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify. You can watch us on YouTube, get in touch at Super League on social media and use the hashtag Out of Your League. We're with you every week, John.
Yes.
Some of us are, until just after the grand final. And this week, my friend, we have some esteemed guests.
We do, yeah, fantastic.
Keegan Hirst, Emily Rudge of St Helens, and Wigan's Gemma Walsh. Keegan, for those who don't know, is a Wakefield player on loan at Halifax till the end of the season. You currently moved there, Keegan, I'm told a few weeks ago. The main reason we've got you in today, Halifax or Wakefield, if you had to choose one of the towns to save and the other has to burn to the ground.
To the ground? Does it have to burn all the way to the ground? Can it not just have like maybe a minor sort of outbreak of flu or something?
No, this is Game of Thrones style. The whole
raising it to the ground.
thing is going.
to the ground.
Yeah.
Which one are you saving?
I'd have to go Wakefield.
Oh, controversial. Do many of your teammates live in Halifax?
No, I hope not.
Burn the remains of Halifax to the. Where is a nicer place to live out of the two? You've experienced both. Which one's got a Waitrose, a Marks and Spencer's?
Look, Will's, you've got to bear in mind Will's from an excessive amount of money.
Yeah.
So what he
Not true.
his benchmarks for what's nice.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, you keep saying
there's
that.
a few Lidls.
There are a few. So which one would be more sort of Alderley Edge? What we thinking out of the two?
I think there's nice parts of both.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Where am I going?
I know where you're going.
Go on.
Go on, finish this little. Finish this little. What you've done here. The whole premise of this, which you wrote in your little notes.
No,
here,
there's
is
nothing.
to-
Oh,
no, it's got a punchline. There's a punchline.
Oh, what the
Yeah.
fact that, no, there is no punch. Well, you mean the fact you live in Alderley Edge? The boy from Hull.
Yeah.
Who now. Anyway, no, that wasn't where I was going. Right, Keegan, let's get stuck into things because we haven't got long and there's so much we want to talk about. August 2015, okay, you came out, which was a huge moment for you. You said that you always knew you were gay, and to two straight people here, I think this is something I'd certainly want to know is when did that first click? When did that become a thing in your head?
There's a couple of points to address, I guess. So August 15th was when it was public, so I'd already come out to friends and family before then. And when I said that I've always known that I was gay, I think that my understanding of it is certainly retrospective because while I was going through it, I was that deep in denial that I would have never said that I was gay up until I kind of came to terms with it. But looking back, I guess I kind of knew there was something going on when I was probably about 14, 15, you know, the age, I suppose lads start to get interested in girls and obviously I started to get interested in lads. So, yeah, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if people were thinking the same as me, but we weren't talking about it. And obviously growing up where I grew up, I grew up on a council estate in Batley. As far as I knew, there were no gay people. There was no one who was like me. So I just figured I can't be gay, or it was a phase. I certainly didn't want to be. So yeah.
Is that denial you mentioned there as a word? Like human denial is like a powerful thing, isn't it? Was that a big part of?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and it was like if you think of it, it was like I was trying to push it down, and I tried everything to make it go away. Having a girlfriend, having a wife, having kids, and that's not to say that I didn't love Sarah, or because I did, and obviously with my kids, and it was just, it was just a really difficult, or what I felt at the time was a really difficult situation that I was in, and I didn't know what to do, and I just hoped that it would go away. I guess I just stuck my head in the sand.
Let's go back a little bit before Sarah and before the kids. What were you like as a kid? Because I'm just reading things that you've done over the past few years. You seem very harsh on yourself. Buck teeth, ugly, fat boy.
I certainly grew into my face.
Right.
What
was the young Keegan like?
Yeah, my teeth were the same size then. Yeah. So, like I said, we lived on a council estate. My mum didn't want us to get into any bother, so she tried to keep us in the house. So we weren't knocking about on street corners. which meant, you know, I wasn't particularly sporty. And it was only by accident that I got into rugby. Playing computer games, love reading, geek, did really well at school, which I'm not ashamed to, you know, admit to. But yeah, I wasn't the sportiest, and it took, puberty was good to me, to be fair. I had a bit of a growth
That's a big
spurt.
step. Puberty was good to me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever... Is that a thing?
I'm going to book the trend now. I mean, yeah, I had a beard and ended up being 6'4" while everyone else was covered in acne, so yeah, puberty was good to me.
Can we get that in quotation marks?
There we go.
Puberty, on the other hand, was very bad for me.
So you met your girlfriend at the time before she became your wife. You were young, 19.
19.
And Sarah got pregnant very quickly.
Couple of months we've been together.
Yeah, this is going to seem a very hypothetical question, but had she not got pregnant as quick as she did, might that have changed the path that you took? You know, might you have come out much earlier than that had it not been for a child?
I'd like to say yeah, but I don't know. I think my grand plan was, like I said, I did well at school. I never thought I was going to end up being a rugby player, so I was going to go to university, you know, move to a big city where the streets were paved with gold, and I don't know, maybe I'd had some kind of sexual awakening there, but yeah, I don't know. Things might have been very different if Sarah hadn't got pregnant.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time, don't we, like, trying to conform to like society, like what society dictates we should behave like. 100%. And that's like it's the maddest concept ever, is that there would be something that's normal. Like, if there's a normal circumstance in the world, that's in itself is unique. And we spend so much time, and we all do it subconsciously, is there's pressure on us to behave in a certain way. And when I read Keegan's story, it had all the earmarks of, you know, that societal pressure. You know, sort of fighting with the pressure of society to be a macho alpha guy with a family and 2 kids, and, you know, all of that.
2.4 kids.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, all of us here, we have pressure to conform.
What was the fear then for all of you? What was the fear, if there was any fear for you two, you know, of telling people that you were gay? I mean, there are obvious ones. You're saying, Keegan, you were from Batley, you worked as a joiner. You know, that's not your stereotypical environment to sort of be open and honest, is it?
Yeah, I mean, my mum wasn't necessarily the most open-minded of people, so there was obviously there's fear of rejection, there's fear of losing your job, and when I think about it when I think back to it, it's ridiculous. There's laws in place. You just catastrophise when you think about it, and you keep it. And you know, we always talk about, especially now we're talking about mental health so much, about bottling things up, and it just gets worse and worse and festers, and it gets more catastrophic. And yeah, I just think, certainly for me, and I would imagine a lot of people, the fear of rejection and no one, you know, being ostracised, and that was terrifying for me. And as it turned out, you know, I don't speak to my mum now, but I'm okay with that because I know I've done my bit. So
I want to get onto your mum, not in that way. That sounded weird. I wanted to get onto your mum.
You're a braver man than many.
No, but in all seriousness, that is a really interesting conversation. But I want to try and go through a little bit chronologically, just for people listening to make sense of it. And at any opportunity, Keegan, tell me to fuck off and mind my own business. But
please do that as much as you can.
But when we fast forward from when you met Sarah and you had your first kid, and then when you got married, when Sarah was walking down the aisle, and you were in the church, I assume it was a church. Yeah. And
I didn't set on fire.
You didn't set on fire. But in your head, when she's walking down there, knowing that you're living a lie, was that a sort of pivotal moment when she was walking down about to become your wife?
I think it's really difficult to convey this, and I'm not as articulate as the point probably needs. It wasn't a case of living a lie, because it wasn't like, I know I'm gay and I'm just marrying you to cover that up, because that's really conceited, and it wasn't a case of that. It was, I don't want to feel like this, and I do love you, so I want to make it right, and I want it to go away, and I want to do everything I can so that I can be a good husband and a good dad, and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't a case of, thank God now I'm married, no one will suspect. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't anything as blatant as that. But when Sarah walked down the aisle, I thought she looked beautiful, and I thought we were going to be married for the rest of our lives. That's what I wanted. That's what, to me, marriage is. Whoever you're marrying, you get married because you want to be with that person for the rest of your life, and that's what I wanted to do, and that I wanted to. We built a family and a household and all that. So it was a really happy day. It wasn't that I was sat there, you know, eating my pudding and thinking, God, I can't do another 50 years like this.
So in a way, you were almost hoping that marriage took the thoughts out of your mind.
Yeah, 100%.
That you were gay. You were that was going to disguise it for the rest of your life.
I suppose it was my own way of conversion therapy or something. It was. I was doing everything to conform, really, and hoping that would just set something right, and not that was my thinking at the time. It would set something right. Do you know what I mean?
But it'd be wrong to sit here and say that, because Keegan obviously came out, that in every moment between the fact where he was 14 and 20, 27, 28 when you came out, that you're thinking about being gay.
Yeah, 100%.
You're not thinking about that all the time. I mean, what sort of narcissist thinks and sits about my sexuality? 24/7 a day, I just think, God, I'm a heterosexual man. I'm a heterosexual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What a weird, like, you never would even.
Yeah.
It's something that I imagine would bob up at your best and at your worst, potentially.
We wear all these caps all different times, don't we? You know, today I'm doing a podcast. This is my podcast cap. And I go to training, that's my rugby cap. And then I've got my kids, and that's my dad cap. And every so often, the gay cap would maybe fall on my head, and I go, go get that off. You know, whereas now I've got it on, and it's got a unicorn on it.
It's outrageous. Yeah. It's an outrageous cap.
But your gay cap at the time, before you came out, you couldn't wear with pride.
No.
And it held you back big time because you were drinking heavily, you were taking drugs, you weren't happy.
No.
You know, I've interviewed Gareth Thomas, and we spoke about this before we came on. There were a lot of similarities, certainly from my point of view, to the story and being married and having kids and things that stopped you coming out at the time. You know, Gareth, I remember telling me that he used to just get into his cupboard. There's a pun of coming out the closet. But he used to get into his wardrobe and with a couple of bottles of vodka and just sit there in the dark for 2 days, just drinking vodka.
It was a walk-in wardrobe. He did very well out of rugby. So.
And he at the time was married, kids. He acted on his urge before he told anyone that he was gay, with a postman. You know, there must have been times where we're human. You were human.
Yeah.
You thought I need to act on this out and had to restrain yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I had a dabble before I got with Sarah, and I didn't like it. I felt it was really alien to me. It was really uncomfortable, as in how it made me feel was uncomfortable, not the actual act. It was, I just didn't like it. It made me feel icky, and I thought I can't be gay. Otherwise, I'd really enjoy it. That'd be a good thing. So that was kind of that added to a reason why I was in denial and thought, I can't be gay because, you're supposed to enjoy sex. So it was, there was that, and then obviously after coming out and everything, getting to grips with everything, then it's a different story now.
How bad did the drugs and the drink get? Did that, I assume, just took an edge off the reality?
I think that was just escapism.
It helped? It worked?
I mean, it helped for the however many hours I was blacked out. But it didn't help my life because I had to get up and go to work. I had to deal with an angry missus. I had to deal with, young kids running around a job, then go training. It had a really bad effect on my life. Rugby took a bit of a performance-wise, obviously took a bit of a nosedive. So, for that brief few hours where I wasn't compos mentis, then it helped them, but by and large, it was,
I don't know how you juggled all of these plates, because that is a lot with the career that you had and with kids and a wife. That's a lot to hide, and to do it so convincingly, which you obviously did, because we're still chronologically at the moment where you haven't come out here. You thought about killing yourself a couple of times.
Yeah.
That as a sentence is just let's just take a second to go back to that moment, and I'm not trying to compare everything with Gareth, but Gareth Thomas had a similar thing where he told me he was stood on he had no intention of thinking about killing himself or no thoughts of it, and he was just stood on a cliff, and the moment just came, and he thought this is the moment, and it was such a sudden thing, something that wasn't planned. What in your head was going through?
I think it had just obviously been bubbling on, and it was at a time. I don't think Fletcher was born. Fletcher wasn't born, so it might have even been before we were married the first time. And I remember just thinking that I couldn't. I hated myself because of how I felt about myself, as in, was I gay or wasn't I? Why was I feeling? Why wasn't I content? Why wasn't I? On paper I had a good life. I had, a beautiful girlfriend. I had a kid. I had a job. I had a rugby career. I might have even been captain at Batley then. Things were going all right. I had a nice life, but I didn't feel like I did. And I just remember it kind of getting on top of me, and I thought it would just be easier for me not to be here, because I can't see a way out. I couldn't see a way out of it.
So at that time, that was a completely in your head, a selfless move rather than what would be seen as a hugely selfish move had you done it.
Yeah.
From your kid's point of view and from your wife at the time.
And the reason that I didn't do it was because they would have never known why I'd done it, and they would have thought that it was something to do with them, and that would have been selfish to, it'd been easy for me. I'd have been dead, but they'd have had to live with that and wonder what they'd done. And also, my dad was never around, and I didn't want that for my kids. So I just got on with it.
But you had a plan. You had a plan to do it.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, all these people who I never fancied hanging myself or anything. It all sounded too painful, so I just started getting a hose pipe. I'd stick it in have a drive out somewhere, stick it in the exhaust, and off I'd go to sleep, and that'd be it. And yeah, I'm obviously very glad that I didn't, but it was a close run thing.
When I listen to a lot of the stories about this, I suppose stories where you've got tough decisions and tough sort of choices to make in life, it's always the same thing that I've heard. It's quite often that you put yourself at the centre of everything, as in you are the problem, I'm the problem. You make everything about yourself. I know that sounds mad, but you feel like you're your problem, and if you're not there, it would solve so many. But it's not often the case, is it?
No.
You've got such a good support network around you when you step back. It's just so important that people at that time in their life step away from themselves and just look at the bigger picture, which thankfully you managed to do.
Yeah, and as soon as you speak to someone, as soon as you say a thing out loud, you can.
But rugby's therapy for me. The changing room's therapy.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the boys, there's this misconception, right? That you've written something about this. I've heard you say something where, there's a misconception that people and the guys in rugby league dressing rooms don't speak. It's the biggest load of nonsense ever. Yeah. Like anything that's going on in your life is aired.
Everyone knows.
And everyone, you get into training, you drop your bags, and you go, right, that's my life out.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, thank God, you know, I've had the same thing, blah blah blah. 100%. My neighbours are doing this, my missus does this, and all of a sudden it becomes like a forum.
But you had those conversations, just from what I've read up on you. You had those chats, but it was more listening to other people bickering about their wives or the little problems and so on. You didn't get involved in those chats, and you didn't talk about being gay until you were 27.
No.
Which I want to tap into, because I think your words exactly were in The Guardian. You killed for some advice. You wanted some wise words for some encouragement. So why didn't you get that? Why didn't you seek that?
Because then, when you say a thing out loud, it becomes real. And for a long time, it was really difficult for me to say I'm gay and to just think it. It's a really difficult one to explain, but I would go to say I'm gay, and it would kind of stick in my throat. It would be a really, it was just really tough, and I didn't know who to ask, and then if I asked them, what would happen, and so it was, my advice to anybody would always be, if you're struggling with something, whatever it is, talk to someone.
And empathy's a big thing, isn't it? Because you're looking for people in life who see the world how you see it, whether you like it or not. You know, you're more comfortable speaking to somebody if you've got a feeling that they might empathise with your position. Now,
values line up.
Exactly, but for yourself in a rugby league dressing room full of sort of, you know, macho sort of characters, that there wouldn't have been a lot of empathy there.
No,
but my point is, in society now, isn't there much more empathy and openness to you know, to sexuality, to differences in gender and whatnot? It seems to be going in the right direction in that respect.
Yeah, I think so. I think, I didn't have anyone to talk to because I didn't know any gay people. I literally didn't know any gay people. I didn't know of any gay people other than people who were on TV. So I couldn't have a chat with them. Although I did end up becoming mates with one.
You were the only gay in the village.
I thought I was. Apparently I wasn't, but I thought I was. And I didn't know there were, you know, charities like Stonewall, and you can talk to the Albert Kennedy Trust, and there's so many charities that are out there. I didn't even think to look, or it just wasn't on my. I was so blinkered to dealing with my own shit that I didn't look at anything.
Emily, Gemma, coming to you shortly. I just keep want to go with this story again in an order. And the moment, and this is a really intrusive question, but the moment that you had that conversation with Sarah, who was the first person you told, why was that the right moment? And tell us as much as you're comfortable telling us about that day.
Yeah, we split up. The drinking and the carrying on had got a bit much, and the marriage it was untenable for both of us. And I didn't want my kids to grow up thinking that was what a relationship was. So we agreed, and I moved out. I think that was the May. I think it was maybe the June. And I kind of been a bit brave and kind of ventured into Leeds, and there's a couple of gay bars in Leeds, and showed my face in there, and then ran out scared and stayed for a little bit longer, and I became more and more comfortable with the idea that I was gay. And then I knew that if I was going to tell anyone, Sarah had to be the first person to tell. I owed her that much. So I went down under some false pretense to just have a chat about nothing. And I sat down at the dinner table, you know, in our house that we'd had for however many years. And again, I couldn't say I'm gay. I think I tried to tone it down a bit, and I said something like, I like lads. She was like, she didn't know what I was on about. So then I kind of went through everything, explained it. And at the time, I think she was just in shock, and she was okay. And she cried, I cried, and then I left. And then the next day, obviously, the dust had settled, and she was understandably, you know, really pissed off. And then obviously I started told the lads at rugby, and then told my mum, told my family, told the lads. And then, as you know, John, nothing's a secret in rugby league for long, is it?
No.
Not that I didn't want it to be a secret, because I told everyone, so it didn't matter that everybody knew.
But initially you didn't feel that relief when you told Sarah. It wasn't as if it was this huge weight off your chest and you could live your life.
Yeah, because I told Sarah, and she was obviously really upset. And then I told my mum, and she didn't. I was a disappointment, and how could I do that to her? And I was an embarrassment. And how can you be gay? 6'4" was an exact sentence that came out of her mouth.
I mean, that's quite unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
That your own mum would come out with that.
Yeah.
It's a generation thing as well,
Yeah,
right? And you know, if you go back 2 generations, the opinions of people would astound you now in the modern day world. You know, my parents, mum and dad, are pig farmers from Hull. You know, and you go a couple of generations back there, and the opinions now are completely different. That's what I was trying to say about the world is moving, isn't it?
100%.
It is moving,
100%.
slowly, and we take steps backwards and forwards and whatever, but we are moving in the right direction.
So that was your mum's opinion, and that was why you were scared to tell her, and she proved that exact point.
But then,
did she ever come round? Has she come round? You
I
still don't speak to her. That's so sad.
It is sad, and yet my life is richer now than it has ever been before. I have good people around me. I have a good relationship with my kids, with my ex-wife.
Do you think she'll ever come round?
Who knows? I don't know.
That's
I'm
fair to understand.
You know, I'd like to think so one day. Life's short, isn't it? But if not, then it's not my loss. It's their loss.
It's one thing telling your wife. I mean, that's a hell of a moment, isn't it? Something like that. Your teammates. You took a couple of them. I think you were on a night out.
Yeah, we'd gone for a few beers, and then the pub. It was a Sunday night. The pub was shut in. Went back to my house and had a few more beers. And obviously, like I said, I'd ventured into a couple of bars in Leeds, and I'm obviously not conspicuous. And one of the lads said, "You know, Keegan, what's these rumours about you being gay?" And I remember it seeming to take an age, but it must have been a split second. I remember thinking, do I tell him? Do I deny? Do I tell him? Do I deny it? And I just remember thinking, fuck it. And I went, yeah, they're true. And Alex Rowe is a big hard man from London, and he's one of my best mates, and he cried. And I said, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "I'm sorry you've had to go through this on your own. I couldn't help you."
Wow.
And he's had it tough growing up and stuff, but the lads were fun. And then they said, "What do we do if anyone asks?" They were like, "It's all right, everyone knows." Told them, then I rung JK up, John Keir.
This is great. What did he tell us? What he said? That's such a good quote.
So obviously things weren't going particularly great with how things had gone with my mum and Sarah and everything. And I was starting to wonder if I'd done the right thing. And then I told JK, and JK, we talk about that generation thing. He's a 60-odd-year-old bloke who's been in rugby for 40-odd years. And I told him, and he said, "Keegan, it don't matter to me how cock if you're gay. You're a rugby league player and you're my captain. That's all that matters to me." And then after that, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to be all right here. And the club were great. Batley Bulldogs was fantastic. The lads were fantastic. We played Dewsbury when I came out, and it was in the paper. When the story broke in the paper in the August, we played in a pink kit to raise money for breast cancer. Late Beverly Nicholas sorted that out. So there were loads of pictures of me, the only gay rugby league player in the world, in a pink kit. Not that we want to conform to stereotypes.
No, yes, of course.
And we played Dewsbury, so local rivalry. Nothing was said. They shook my hand after the game, said well done. And I've genuinely not had any bad experience. Someone on Twitter once.
What did your kids say?
So Taylor would have been 7 at the time, so she understood. She was they were upset that mum and dad split up more than anything. They weren't really bothered. And I just kind of said at the time to them, in the future Dad might have a boyfriend rather than a girlfriend. And they were like, all right. Because people aren't born prejudiced. And I've come out to my son about 5 times. Because he was 3 at the time. He's 7 now, so he gets it now. But
and they say it as it is, kids.
Yeah, 100%. And one of them, he said, "Daddy, are you still gay?"
Yeah. It's a good check, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least he's checking.
Yeah. Just marked it on his calendar.
Just ask the question. Ask Dad.
Something really powerful that I've read from you that must have been so difficult for you to write. You wrote a letter to yourself.
Yeah.
Why did you feel the need to do that? And do you read it back from time to time to kind of remind yourself? I mean, the whole story's in that letter. It's such a powerful 5-minute piece.
Yeah, it was. The Super League got in touch to ask. There's a big website in America called Players Tribune, where American footballers, NBA players, hockey players all contribute by writing articles or letters or do it through different mediums. And they asked me if I wanted to get involved, and I said, yeah, sure, I enjoy writing, always have done. And they said, do you want to write a letter to your younger self? And that was how it came about. So I kind of bared my soul and cried my eyes out while I was typing away. But yeah, I actually haven't read it back since I wrote it, because it was very cathartic getting it. There's something very cathartic about putting pen to paper or indeed finger to keyboard. Yeah.
We'll come back to you. I don't want you to sit there in silence for any longer, Gemma and Emily. You two are married.
Yeah.
Gemma,
Very good listeners, by the way.
Very good listeners.
But not a lot of nodding and
It's a great story, isn't it? Keegan's story.
Yeah.
But you two, where did you first meet? Was it on England duty when you were both in England camp together?
Yeah, so we met through rugby.
Yeah.
We met in 2008, and Gemma was in the England squad, and I was 16 at the time, and I'd just kind of started playing open age, and then I got selected for the women's Northwest team, and then from there I got asked to go down to the England training, and then that's when we met.
That sounds really bad that she was 16.
Yeah, we weren't in a relationship then.
I wanted to jump in, but I thought wait till I tell let her finish. But yeah, we met when she was 16.
That's when we met, yeah.
There's a bead of sweat rolling
Yeah.
down.
Get it in that we didn't get together straight away.
Yeah.
So we first met in 2008, but we didn't get together till 2 years later.
Yeah.
Just to
And she
clarify.
was on her 18th birthday.
Just listen to Keegan's journey is just such a wanky word, isn't it? But what he's been through.
Yeah.
Think of another one for me quickly. Go on. Experiences.
His life.
Experiences.
His life.
His life. Yeah, his life. How much easier, how much harder was it for you two when you were younger, acknowledging that you were gay and revealing that you were gay?
I think mine was really easy, and I think for women in general, it probably is a little bit easier to come out. Not obviously not every woman, but I was pretty lucky. I didn't have that fear of coming out to my family. So as soon as I kind of thought that I was,
No fear at all?
Okay. No, not really. And plus, playing rugby, I started playing rugby when I was 15, 16, and I was like the younger one. So there was already a lot of, gay women in the team. So it was easy for me because I was around a lot of, gay women straight away. So I was comfortable in that environment straight off. And I didn't really have any fear about telling my family.
That's huge, isn't it? I guess because in the same in England's women's football team as well, there are a lot of openly gay sportswomen, and being in that sort of environment, you're going to be comfortable. The fact that women probably that's not a stereotype, is it? Talk more openly than guys do in general.
Yeah.
Sexuality is something that's going to be on the table.
I think we're really lucky in women's rugby, just in general, that it's very welcoming environment, like full stop. Like you when you're part of women's rugby, you don't have to kind of come out as such. It's not assumed you're straight, it's not assumed you're gay. It's that environment where everybody's kind of comfortable being themselves, and everybody's comfortable with everybody else being themselves, and there's not any pressure to, like, it's completely different, I think, from your experience. Like, there is women who are gay who play rugby, and there doesn't seem to be any issues with that at all. So I think it's a lot easier, like for myself personally, when I, similar to Gemma, when I joined like women's rugby and moved up to open age, I knew a lot of gay people, and although I wasn't openly gay at that time, I could see that so many women were comfortable with it. There wasn't a problem. Like, everybody just got on with it, and I think that made it obviously a lot easier to come out and just, be yourself and not have to hide anything.
So neither of you had any sort of real dark struggles because of your sexuality?
I think you probably more so.
Yeah, I think I struggled with it a little bit, just like yourself. I think I kind of denied it for a while, and I myself wasn't comfortable being gay at first. Not in rugby. In rugby, I was happy to just be myself. It was more in terms of at work and at university, when I eventually come out of university. But I really worried about what other people would think, because in those environments at work and at university, there wasn't anybody else who was gay. So I did worry, how that would be like perceived, I guess. So yeah, I was a little bit uncomfortable with coming out. Obviously we were together, so I was kind of hiding a part of my life, which I didn't like doing, and I was kind of, having to lie to people about who I was going out with or where I was going, and eventually it just, I did come out. But yeah, I think I did struggle with it for a while when I was about 18, but yeah, obviously rugby really helped me feel more comfortable with it.
And when you hear Keegan's struggles, Gemma, and how, look, he had to keep it a secret. It was almost like you were in too deep with the kids and the wife and so on. When you hear stories like that, how much empathy do you have, and sort of, I guess, relief for yourself that you've not had to go through those really dark struggles where, as we heard from Keegan, he thought the only way out of this is simply for me to remove myself from the equation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's really sad, and I guess I've not really thought about it that deeply, how lucky I was, growing up and being able to come out like really easily to my family. I'm not saying that my family found it, easy, but I never once worried about having to, to admit it. I knew from a very early age when I was in high school that I was more attracted to women. And yeah, I guess, there's so many people, obviously like Keegan, who do live that lie, and don't feel comfortable enough to be able to just be themselves. And I guess it's really sad, and obviously, Keegan now is obviously happy and able to just be himself. And I think there's so many people in that situation, and it kind of makes you think, I am really lucky that I didn't have this big coming out, story, or it was just a natural kind of thing about growing up.
This might be outrageous, or not outrageous, but it's for discussion. Is there less of a stigma with coming out as being gay as a woman?
Yeah.
You think in general in society, I'm not talking about in a rugby league microcosm, I'm talking about in society in general. Would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I think that, it's a fair statement to make. I touched on it earlier. I think for women in general, coming out is a lot easier. And that's just probably my opinion, but maybe that's because I'm, got a lot of friends.
You've experienced that, and we know quite a few people that know.
I think a good gauge of that is if two girls went on a night out and they kissed each other, and there were photos of it the next day on Facebook, would there be a massive kick-off about it? Would people be going, "Oh my God, can you believe that so-and-so kissed so-and-so?" Yeah. Cut to two lads on a night out and they have a kiss, and then that's on Facebook. Yeah. What's the difference in reaction? And I think that is like a cross-section of that question.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, like you said, John, it's a generation thing, isn't it?
Sure.
That's what it comes to. But when I did come out to my family, my dad was the first person that I told, and we've had a conversation, since, and he found it really easy, and straight away he was telling all his friends, and he wouldn't hide the fact that I was gay. But then we had a conversation about my brother. I've got a younger brother, and he said, he'd have found it a little bit harder, just because it's his son, and I didn't kind of understand that comment from him. But I guess it is a generation. My dad's, an ex-professional, rugby league player. My brother played rugby. So yeah, I don't know what it is with the male.
I think the thing with dads and sons is because selfishly, on a parent's point of view, it would make them feel that it's their fault. But a lot of parents do that. They feel that it's their fault that the son or daughter has turned out gay or whatever the sexuality is, and that is a bad showing on them as a parent.
But it brings up that the discussion about nature versus nurture, I suppose. Have you always been gay? Is it something that is developed through environmental things? Is it having role models, people around you connect with? Is it, and these are the sort of things we need to sort of talk about. Really.
I think the whole, labelling yourself as gay, straight, bisexual, I just think it's just who you fall in love with. And I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but it's kind of, if you meet somebody and you have that attraction and you have that chemistry and you get on, and I don't really, it's the whole labels, isn't it? I don't think there should be a, I mean, I've had a boyfriend before, Emily's had boyfriends, and it's not...
That was boyfriend and that was boyfriend. Just got to point out, really important difference there. It's accusational, that. It did. I've had one boyfriend, you've had boyfriends.
So yeah, I just the whole label thing, I mean, it's sad that you have to label yourself these days, but
I think
just be the person.
For me, it's not a choice. Because if I could have chosen, I would have chosen not to be for most of my life. Yeah. Whereas now, I'm really happy about being gay and who I am and where I'm at and stuff. So yeah, I don't think that is a choice, because I think a lot of people do think that it is a choice. But
that's where a parent would put themselves in that decision, wouldn't they? They
would say there's something how I brought you up as that. I remember my nan, I used to play with a vacuum when I was a kid. I love cleaning. I do genuinely love cleaning.
Really? We didn't get that the second time you told me. When he said it twice, I thought, he really loves, this guy loves cleaning. If you went 3 times on that, I really like cleaning.
We've got a cleaning business. And my nan would say, don't let him play with a vacuum, he'll turn out gay.
Yeah.
And she said, I can play with a vacuum. And then I did turn out gay, so maybe that's something to do with why she doesn't talk to me.
should have known.
I'm definitely gay. I do all the
I
vacuums.
love cleaning. I love cleaning as well.
I don't think that's the only criteria.
Right, is that not it? It's not like that.
There's
One
a
of them,
couple- there's a
one of
couple
those
of
Daily
exceptions.
Mail things where if you eat an apple a day, you're like 5 times less likely to die of something. It's just that if you vacuum, watch it.
One thing that you two didn't have when you came out was a tweet which was retweeted nearly 2 million times after Elton John, Stephen Fry, Emma Watson, all...
You were very competitive about that. One thing you guys didn't have.
No. And Keegan, that's what happened, because when you openly came out in the August, you met Elton John, didn't you?
I did meet Elton John later on. I got a phone call off him.
That's awesome. How
Should
good's
brought
that?
him.
I got a phone call off a lady, a London phone number, and I just thought it was one of the lads that got the missus to ring me and said, it's Elton John's secretary and he's read your story and he'd like to get in touch. Can I pass your number and your email address on? And I was like, yeah, of course you can. And that was that. And then I got a phone call from Nice and I genuinely thought that's PPI. So I ignored it.
Could you imagine doing a PPI claim with Elton John? That'd be amazing.
And then I thought, PPI don't ring from Nice.
No.
So I picked it back up and I dialed it and obviously a French guy answered and he was like, who is this? He was French. And I said, it's Keegan Hirst. I said, one moment please. And then it went kind of off. And then it came on and it said, hi Keegan, Elton here. David and I think you're absolutely fabulous.
No.
We've read your story and we spoke. He said the world's changing, people like you are helping it change. It was very sweet. We spoke for about 10 minutes and we've stayed in touch via email ever since. I've met him a couple of times. His kids are the same age as
Brilliant.
mine. Yeah, and then obviously Anthony got in touch. I became Anthony's and Cotton's best mate now. Met Gandalf, Emma, yeah, it was mad. That was mad. That was surreal.
Crazy.
Yeah, really.
I know you've got to go soon. So have you got another 5-10 minutes, or do you need to shoot now? Right? Because I just want a couple other bits. You said to me earlier that perhaps Gareth Thomas coming out, who was the first big, and current at the time rugby league player to come out, and he went on to play. Was it Crusaders at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he came out when he was at Toulouse, wasn't he? And then
moved to Crusaders, yeah. And kept playing. That moment where you had come out and you were still playing rugby and you're on the pitch, did anyone look at you different? You must have felt different inside in terms of how people were looking at you, but did you ever get anything negative? Did you ever get anything on the pitch or from the fans or anything that...
No, no one's ever said anything to me.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and there's lots of opportunity for people to, as we all know. But no players have ever said anything. No, I've never directly heard anything from any fans. People have told me they've heard things, but I've never heard anything. The only incident was there was a Batley fan tweeted something and the club banned him straight away. No, that was it. That's the only.
Would you message him anything negative?
Absolutely not. Well, you would because the people that do that are hiding so far away behind any kind of reality that they can do it.
I did get a letter, a handwritten letter. It was written in pencil, which I thought was indicative, from, I think he was called Steve, who's from Wigan, and he wrote it in pencil, and he said that he thought he didn't agree with my choices.
Yeah. Nice one, Steve.
Nice, Steve. In pencil, so he must not have got his pen licence yet.
Steve in pencil. We can rub that one out, I think, can't we? Why do you think then that people haven't followed suit? Not followed suit, that's not the right way to put it, and you didn't follow Gareth Thomas's lead. It all came naturally to you when to do it and why to do it. But why have there not been more in rugby league that have felt comfortable and seen that you guys have created a pathway that you can carry on absolutely as normal and live the life?
I think there's a couple of things you take into consideration. I don't think it would be unfair to say that a lot of gay kids move away from sport as they get older, rightly or wrongly, for whatever reasons. But that is probably a fact. So if the stat is 1 in 10 people are gay, I wouldn't imagine that is necessarily the case in professional sport, because do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And then also say that you are gay and you are playing professional. I remember when Gareth Thomas came out, I didn't think, oh, I can do that. I was so busy in my own shit that it just didn't register. And retrospectively, it did kind of pave the way for me. But so I imagine if other people are just busy trying to spin their own plates, and you can only come out when you're ready to come out. Doesn't matter.
But two openly gay professional rugby league players.
But it's not a representative sample of the population. Is what you're saying. The people who are playing rugby league, the men who are playing rugby league, and less so the women, which is brilliant. Is the men who are playing rugby league are less likely to conform or to come out in the way that you have. There's probably people are living under a cloud of
there must be thousands.
denial. Well, thousands would be stretching it because
hundreds. There'll be hundreds.
There'll be people.
Gay rugby league players.
Well, this is what Keegan, right? This is my thing with Keegan and the story about what Keegan is. At its very best, the game uses it to help people who are living in denial and who have these feelings to come out. The worst thing is to feel like you've almost been thrown out there and the sport use you up in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it can become so easy to... We're talking about labels, right? Yeah. Well, look, inherently when you talk about yourself, it's always part of the conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's not John, the heterosexual rugby player, is it?
Yeah.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. That's a lazy thing from our game, I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, it's lazy, but it's obvious because we are talking about two human beings and only two, which I find astonishing.
Yeah,
No. But what I'm saying is that Keegan, should Keegan, like, he's a gay rugby player, but so what? Do you know what I mean? We shouldn't put him out there.
We shouldn't, and I understand and appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I remember when I came out, I remember thinking it specifically, and I think I would have said it at some point. I said, I don't want to go on some kind of crusade and be a pin-up boy, poster boy for gay people, and I just want to live my life. Bear in mind, I was going through a divorce, and I thought, I don't need any extra shit to deal with. And then I got so many letters, emails, messages from people who played sport but stopped playing sport, people who were in a team but weren't out, people who were married, it seems to touch lots of people. And I realised that I was in a position...
You have a responsibility.
...to make change. Yeah, and it would be remiss of me to not step up.
Absolutely.
Well, think about the Keegan at 27, who's thinking about putting a pipe in his window and killing himself. You do have a responsibility for those guys, and it's something that you've now... You're an international speaker on the subject.
And I'm really proud. I am a rugby player. I am the gay rugby player, and I guess I will be known as that. But I'm proud of that. And I'm proud that I've been able to help, a person here or there, and that I've been able to use my voice for positive change, or just even if it's changing perceptions. So I do get what you're saying, but I'm glad of it. It's like a double-edged sword, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And having role models is really important in life, isn't it? So if you see a path that's well trodden, or somebody's been down that path before, instinctively it gives you a route to travel, doesn't it? And it seems like that, in women's rugby league, that path is there already, isn't it? And it's probably more well travelled, and therefore that probably describes why it feels more natural.
I think, I've been playing a lot longer than Emily has, and like I say, when I first started playing, obviously the majority of the players were gay. Now it's very different.
So it's going the other
way. So there is, there's a lot of female rugby league players who are not gay, who are straight, who've got families,
they have
married.
to come out as straight.
Introduce yourself as straight. But it's changed. In our game, it's from when I first started at 16, it's kind of evened out a lot now.
I think that goes back to though, like you said before about what's normal. I think like a couple of years ago, it seemed to be rugby was perceived as a sport where only gay women play it, or more masculine women would play. Whereas, so you did find that there was a lot of gay women who played rugby. Whereas now, I think women's rugby's out there a lot more, and you find that a lot of young girls who are not gay at all, and they're coming to women's rugby league, and because the sport's growing, it's growing like society's growing. There's like I was on a bike with the girls yesterday when we was on the way back from our game, and I was saying actually in our team there's sort of 20, 23, 24 of us, and there was only four of us who were gay in the team. So I think a lot of people assume the majority of women are gay, but actually in fact, now I don't think it is the majority. I think it's probably the other way. Just because it's grown and it's got a lot more popular.
And there's a bigger pool to pick. If there's a bigger pool to pick from, there is statistically less gay people than straight people. So that's.
And I think that's just what it is, you know, as it's grown.
I want to talk about one moment with you two, which is brilliant. I don't know if it was so brilliant at the time, but Saints were playing Wigan, the Saints Wigan derby, which is big enough in itself. You two, married at the time, playing against each other. Yeah. What happened? Because
what happened?
There was an incident which happened.
We
Someone got
have
clattered.
To speak about this, and we still to this day disagree.
Go on.
So basically we come up against each other, and obviously with Wigan and Saints being a massive derby, we got caught up in that. This is the first time we played against each other since we've been married and since it's been the Women's Super League. So I think we just got caught up in it a little bit, didn't we?
Was it we or was it?
Well, I don't think it was we.
No.
You know,
that's what I'm
suggesting.
That, you know.
Yeah. So I would say it was Emily.
Well, you tell your side then, but it'll be different from me.
So we'd had a little chat before the game, and we'd said, you know, let's just you know, keep it professional. We'll both play rugby. Then after, you know, we'll go back to being Emily and Gemma married.
Yeah, and that's what we intended to do. But.
So 5-10 minutes into the game. And I'd shut up to kind of put a bit of pressure on Emily because she's their go-to player.
Which is aggressive.
Yeah.
That's an aggressive
I
action.
would agree. I would agree.
So, shut up. The ball didn't get to Emily. The half dummied. So I'd kind of turned, knowing the ball wasn't getting to her.
At this point, though, I'd seen her out the corner of my eye shooting up. So I thought, right, she's shot here and she's lined up against me. So I thought she was going to put a shot on me, which I didn't expect because we'd already had this.
Your wife to put a shot on
we'd already had this discussion where we were going to keep it professional, etc. And I thought, right, she's gunning for me here. She's really going to try and take me out. So that riled me up, and I didn't end up getting the ball, but I ended up kind of thinking.
So she dropped her shoulder,
and I kind of ran into Gemma.
So let's get this right. In that point, like 100th of a second, you got riled up.
Yeah,
You made a very rational decision to shoulder charge your wife in the head.
The old hit on suspicion.
It wasn't a shoulder charge.
it was a shoulder charge. So basically, I was off balance, so I did do a backwards.
The old I was off balance.
Exactly.
I've been off balance a few times.
That's what I'm saying. And then so the penalty was given. The linesman came on, gave a penalty against Emily. But in that moment,
Sounds like a penalty. It does.
It was a penalty, and we've watched it back, and we still disagree on it.
I think if I hadn't done that, she would have done that.
What was the reaction at the time? What was said at the exact moment?
Well, I got sin binned in that game after that incident.
Well, you're quite loud on the pitch, aren't you?
Was there a few words as you went?
I've watched a bit.
Yeah.
I've watched a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Gemma, was there a few words when you went to the bin between you two?
Yeah.
No, there wasn't between.
Oh,
at
no,
the
maybe
time
not between.
that incident happened. No. She was like, "What are you doing?"
So
Was
they
there a
got
bit of
so
silent treatment at home afterwards?
Yeah, fast forward to sitting at home.
It was, I went out, I think.
But I think
I'm going out. I'll see you later.
I think as well, you know, all of the players knew the situation, and a lot of probably the fans, the people who were there watching knew the situation. So I think when it happened, everybody on Wigan and Saints were all like, "Oh God, oh," and the crowd was like, "Oh." So it kind of just it made it into, I think, a bigger incident than it needed to be, and the fact that we have to keep talking about it.
It's only a year on. It's only a year on.
That brings up a really interesting thing, is that like sort of marital like feuds could be sorted in sport. If I was allowed to play against my wife, so if I could play rugby against my wife,
you get to play against Flash, don't you?
Yeah, well, exactly. He's my work wife.
and he knocked him out.
No, he did actually. He's got a big head. But yeah, it could be sorted. Well, domestic situations. You know, Fran could shoulder charge me in the head once every couple of weeks.
Jousting, horse and an actual joust. Let's just physically make it a joust.
On a horse.
A joust off. Yeah, on horseback.
Why have you just put this on horseback?
What
the hell is... What the hell? This is his privilege again, you see. The next thing we'll be doing it on sailboats. We'll be doing it at Henley.
I think it's almost a stereotype, just squeezing this in as the sort of final conversation, but we've Keegan's got to go. We've done an hour. I just want to... The Women's Super League game is massively on an upward curve. You've got the World Cup coming up as well, 2021, running concurrently with the men's, alongside the men's. you're playing in the same stadium as the men's on the same match day, which is huge. Is something the FA do for England's women's football. It is going in the right direction of such a short space of time. Last year was the first professional season.
Yeah, it is growing quite rapidly, and I think we're both really enjoying the fact that it is growing and it's becoming really big. There's the Women's Super League's been brilliant. I think it's just brought a whole kind of not different, but it's just made it really professional for us. Obviously we don't get paid to play rugby, but we kind of I think we take it quite serious with it being a Super League, and everybody trains because they love it. But
will it get to the stage you get paid like the women's football game?
I just genuinely think that the women's sport's it's been brilliant. The Super League's been exceptional, but the only way that we make it full time is for the men's game to be stronger. Because at the moment, commercially, that generates the revenue for all things. We only just sort of started discussing reserve teams and whatnot. But if we can get the men's Super League to really spin some money, and I know it sounds misogynistic to say it, if the male game could, then that's the opportunity for the women's game to become full time. We've got to understand that. I think it's quite easy to say we need it to be all full time and everybody be paid, but
we need more than the best will in the world, don't you?
I think it will eventually get to that point. I think it's going that way. And there's other female athletes in different sports who are full-time professionals, and the rugby league women in Australia, they're full-time. So that in itself just shows that I think it will get there, whether or not we're still playing.
Well, and easier said than done, but you need the nation to take it to their hearts, and you need the platform to do that. For example, netball, and they've had a lot of money invested in them. Yeah. But on that Commonwealth stage, when they won that final against Australia in the most dramatic circumstances, then that is forever etched in people's minds. And they were, England's women's rugby union team have had that moment.
I do think that would take it to another level if the national team got some success on a big scale, like whether it be the World Cup in 2021. Obviously, that would be the dream for England to win that. I do think that would take it to another level. Success does that, done it for a sport. But I think, it's going to take time. Anything would take time. The Super League's been around for 2 years, and it's grown massively in those 2 years. You can't expect it to be a straight away. It's going to be huge. It will take time, and it is going definitely in the right direction, so it's all positive.
I've got 2 final questions. First one to Mrs. Walsh. Can we call you Mrs. Walsh?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's not about you, this job.
Sorry.
Are you going to come out of retirement for a home World Cup?
No, I don't think so. Well, I've not been asked. That's the big one.
Would you?
I've not been asked. If I thought that I would add value to the England team, and I could bring something that maybe another player couldn't bring, then obviously I've got to be in the right shape, physically, and I am.
That's a great answer.
Probably, thank you. I'm obviously one of the older players in the game now, so I guess
How old's old, by the way? Do you mind me asking? I'm old.
Oh,
you see,
you're
so
on the spot now.
No, I'm trying to work out how old. I need to hang my boots up essentially.
Well, you should have done that 5 years ago.
I'm 36.
Oh, we're the same age. It's a great age. It's a great age. It is a great age.
I don't want to get onto the subject of surnames in marriages, because we've been there with John. And Fran Housel still hasn't changed her name, which is a very, very touchy subject. But let's not go there again. Let's not go there again. Very touchy, Keegan. Very touchy subject. My final question is to Mr. Hirst. You're going to go on first dates again?
No. I don't think my boyfriend would be very happy.
Oh, you've got a
about
boyfriend
that.
now? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that was very awkward, wasn't it, that day? Just quickly tell us about that. 2016?
He was
first gay date on first date?
No, it wasn't my first gay date.
No, it wasn't your first gay?
No, it wasn't. I'd not been on many, though. It was awful.
What, because the guy was so...
But dates, our dates in general.
No, but didn't he throw a whole load of gay innuendos at you?
Loads of gay innuendos. He's so self-obsessed.
Just wasn't your type. It was a blind date, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a blind date. It was, and first dates were so apologetic that they put me with someone who was so far away from, you know, talking about values lining up.
Yeah.
They asked me to go back on, and I just said, no, I'm all right. The food was really nice, though.
They did that badly, they asked you back. Please, give us another chance.
Keegan, Gemma, Emily, thank you so much for coming in. Great to get your insight. Keegan, I know, you know, you've done so many interviews, paper, TV, magazines, whatever, on this, and with your work now speaking all around the world, you've told these stories so many times, but I think it's so important for people who haven't heard it, to hear it from a sportsman still playing at the top level, and hopefully more will follow suit, because that surely is where we have to be at. Thanks everyone, and you can download Out of Your League via Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can watch us on YouTube as well. Get in touch at Super League, join the conversation on social media, use the hashtag Out of Your League, and we are with you every week up until after the grand final. See you later.